Hello everyone, and many thanks for your attention for participating in this stream. Today is 27th of April. Now it's 6 o'clock in the evening Moscow time, and this is a traditional community chatter. Usually, no, lately at least, I have community chats on Mondays, but due to changes in the programming about which I will talk later on after news segment, I had no option but to move this live stream on YouTube on Sundays on the same time at 6 o'clock. And so, first of all, dear friends, I will go through some news and give you not just news but also my commentary, my take on those developments. And after that, community chatter, I will be actively engaged in conversation, and whenever I see any question or comment that I may react on, I will do my best to be informative. And so, that's being said, many thanks, of course, to all the members of our community who will join later on or will watch this video in a recording after live stream ends. Anyways, dear friends, first of all, of course, news part, and we have this report, for example, that Russian, and many of you obviously are familiar already with this development, that Russian troops liberated Kursk region, all the settlements in the Kursk region. Last settlement that was under control of Kiev regime is Garnal, and well, yesterday Russian troops liberated this settlement also. Still, there are some parts, by the way, in the forestry areas on the borderline strip where the regime troops are hiding or trying to maintain their presence, but I guess it's only a matter of days at this point, and all the territory will be cleared from enemy forces, and Russian side will first establish full control of the border, and then most likely Russian troops will move forward and will continue creating buffer zone in the Sumy region that is temporarily controlled by this Western-backed terrorist regime of Zelensky. And the announcement about liberation of Kursk region came yesterday while Russian president had a conversation with the head of Russian General Staff, Valery Gerasimov. I believe Gerasimov, during that conversation, also stated that since the beginning of invasion of the Kursk region in last August, Kiev regime lost about 76,000 troops in the Kursk salient area, which is a huge number, obviously. Entire army, basically, that was trained and armed by NATO countries were decimated by Russian troops in this direction. And surprisingly, dear friends, yesterday Russian leadership confirmed presence of North Korean troops in the Kursk region. So Chief of Russian General Staff Valery Gerasimov has praised the contribution made by North Korean servicemen in helping liberate Kursk region from Ukrainian forces. He cited their resilience and their heroism during their operations, which Moscow has held as a major success in its campaign against Kiev's forces. And so this is first time when Russian leadership officially confirmed presence of North Korean troops in the zone of counter-terrorist operation that was underway in the Kursk region. This information, this acknowledgement came as a surprise to me personally, but you know, it is what it is. So North Korean troops are helping Russian armed forces to fight against this neo-Nazi regime of Zelensky, which is great, by the way. I mean, if you ask me, I wouldn't be against if North Korea will send entire its army to help Russia, but still, to me personally, this acknowledgement did come as kind of surprise. I was thinking all these talks about North Koreans are just a hoax, really, because there was no videos, right? In a time when there are plenty of drones simultaneously in the sky, it is surprising that there was no footage actually, footage, at least I did not see, that would confirm presence of North Korean troops, but they are actually in the Kursk region and did help Russia, so great, okay. RIA Novosti is also reporting that, if you remember, dear friends, a couple of days ago, there was a media report here in Russia about destruction of unit of the mercenaries that was fighting on the side of Kiev regime, that was a Portuguese speaking unit, right? And now we have a little more information on that. So mercenaries from Portugal took part in military operations on side of Ukrainian armed forces in the DPR. The commander of the 60th Separate Motorized Rifle Battalion with the call sign MIF told the RIA Novosti. So, well, now we have a little clearance on that. These mercenaries, this unit was from Portugal, and maybe this was some special forces of Portuguese army, or maybe just stupid people that went to fight against Russia for money. Maybe we will have some more clearance on that sometime in the future. Also interesting news that well, CIA confirms the death of deputy director's son in fighting in Ukraine, and there are many people might be surprised to hear that this person was fighting alongside Russian troops against her neo-Nazi regime of Zelensky, Western-backed neo-Nazi regime. So death of the son of the US CIA deputy director Michael Gloss during the conflict in Ukraine was confirmed by their agency's press service. NBC News reported. A CIA spokesman told NBC News that 21-year-old Gloss died in the spring of 2024 without specifying which side he fought for. Thus report the CIA called Michael Gloss' death a private family matter and not a matter of national security. As the Washington Post notes, the father of their deceased, Larry Gloss, said that his son died on the territory of the Donetsk People's Republic, fighting on the side of Russia against the armed forces of Ukraine. So, interesting story. That son of a high-ranking official from CIA was fighting alongside Russia and died during this fight. Unfortunate that he died, but well. Also, dear friends, RT is reporting that a Ukrainian agent who was involved in a terrorist attack on Russian general that happened a couple of days ago in Moscow region was arrested. So Russian Federal Security Service, FSB, has reported that it detained a Ukrainian operative who is suspected of planting a bomb that killed the Russian two-star general serving as deputy operations chief of the general staff on Friday, and this terrorist acknowledged that his guilt, basically. And according to reports that I see this morning on different sources, he was expecting to receive some $18,000 or something like that from Kiev regime's secret services. Well, he will spend now most likely entire his life in a Russian prison for this terrorist attack. But unfortunately, he managed successfully to conduct this terrorist attack, and as a result of which a Russian general was killed. Of course, vast majority of our community already informed that yesterday there was a meeting between Trump and Zelensky, short meeting about 15 minutes in the Vatican. And according to reports, French President Macron was also trying to participate in this meeting, and Trump told him to just go away, which is interesting. Although some reports are suggesting that it was a French president that actually organized this meeting, which might be true, by the way. We should keep in mind that French President Macron is a puppet of Rothschild clan, and Rothschild clan is one of the most powerful criminal clan that there is in the world right now, especially in the Western world, right? So if Rothschilds and Rothschilds are, of course, one of the main driving force of the globalists, I will argue. So if they wanted a meeting to take place between Trump and Zelensky, even short one, probably they have enough influence to pull off such a trick, and they did. White House called this meeting with Zelensky productive. Okay, what kind of productive meeting could come out from like 10-15 minutes talk, I don't know. But anyways, this kind of meeting had happened. And also what is interesting, that Estonian president is stating that US President Donald Trump has promised him not to walk away from the Ukraine peace process, stating that an end to the hostilities was quite close. So despite threats that we hear from Marco Rubio, head of State Department, and also Trump himself confirmed that the US might walk away from these talks, seems like they are not intended to do so. But on same topic, by the way, we have Rubio's new statement that US to decide in the coming days whether to continue mediation on Ukrainian matters, on Ukrainian crisis. I mean, who tell these people that they are mediators? I don't know. US is a side of the conflict, right? And no matter how hard they're gonna try to paint a picture that US is a mediator, this is not true. No one gonna buy this, right? We all know that US is a part of this conflict, and if US want to pull off, okay, Washington well capable of doing so, but please don't give us this crazy attitude that you are somehow peacekeeper, and you are not. You are not. And if US will disagree on Russian terms, if US will disagree on significant concessions to Russia, then well, I guess time will come when you know, Russia directly or indirectly, but will revenge for all the damage that was done to Russia, to Russian citizens by US and its involvement in this proxy war. So it will be better for US itself if they will stop playing the games, acting tough, and if they will not just pull out country from this proxy war against Russia, but also to agree on serious concessions before Russia. That will be best decision that US leadership can make, for sure, 100%. Meanwhile, RIA Novosti is reporting that Putin confirms readiness for dialogue with Kiev without preconditions. As Ushakov, aide of Russian president, stated after latest meeting between Putin and Witkov, special envoy of US president, one of the topics of discussion was direct talks between Moscow and Kiev, and I commented on that straight away that Moscow was never against dialogue, really, but Kremlin was always highlighting that Kiev has to be represented by legit people, by people that have some legitimacy, right? And Zelensky is definitely not that person. He is not legit. And Ukraine's constitution, according to Russian experts, says it clearly that during the martial law, only parliament's or state radas mandate is prolonged, not the president's mandate. So therefore, Moscow is open for negotiations, but yet again, from Kiev side, it is necessary in this dialogue to participate, someone to be engaged, someone that has some level of legitimacy. Also, dear friends, New York Times reveals details of Ukraine-US talks in Paris. So the next US administration may reconsider the issue of Ukraine's membership in NATO. New York Times writes, citing a source who attended the meeting between Washington and Kiev representatives in Paris. So this is Western media, so-called media, isn't it? New York Times, which is saying that, well, this administration may say whatever they want. They might say that US will block Ukraine's admiration to join NATO and that kind of stuff. But, well, next administration may actually reconsider this stand, and this is true, by the way. US, if we see anything from US, is inconsistency, right? One administration may sign up for all sorts of deals, and the next administration may actually, annul all those agreements. And Trump himself did it, right? with a nuclear deal, for example, Iran nuclear deal that was signed by Obama's administration, and then Trump came to office in his first term and he destroyed that deal, right? And now Washington is trying quite actively to sign up with Iran new deal, and I mean, you can imagine how difficult it should be, not just for Iran in this particular case, or also for Russia and every other country, to deal with Washington, where they know perfectly well that next administration may annul any agreement that might be reached with the current administration. This is not how serious countries should operate, but that's what US does, by the way, time after time after time. So therefore, I don't know how Moscow intends to basically negotiate with the US, and how Moscow intends to achieve anything, really. Because they will just, they will never play fair game, right? Trump may sign up for anything, and then some other president in White House can say, you know what, I disagree with this. So therefore, I'm out from this agreement. And New York Times is openly saying that this might be their case, and there may be US administration now kind of reassuring its European allies that, well, Trump might be against Ukraine to join NATO or against any other topic, but, well, just wait for a couple of years. New administration may actually do things differently, which is, yet again, this is not the way how serious countries should operate, but that's what US does constantly. RT is also reporting that unfortunately there was a car ram into a crowd in Canada during their festival, and according to reports, 9 people were killed and over a dozen wounded as a result of this tragedy. At this point, I did not see any reports. Was it a terrorist attack or just some tragic accident, or maybe some crazy person just did it because of craziness? I don't know, but it's a tragedy, of course. Unfortunately, in the Western world, these car ramming attacks are becoming quite a regular occurrence, which is tragedy, of course. TASS news agency is also reporting that Russian Emergency Ministry will send 2 amphibious aircraft to Bandar Abbas to fight fire in a portal area. As you know, dear friends, yesterday there was a huge explosion in Iran's main port, and the casualty numbers already are reaching over 700, by the way, although there is no exact data about how many people were killed as a result of this massive explosion. And still, by the way, explosions are taking place, and fire, there's huge fire in this port, and Russia is sending its planes, its experts to deal with the situation. And also a tragedy, of course, that struck Iran's port. And also on topic of Iran, TASS news agency is reporting, based on Tasnim news agency, that export of enriched uranium from Iran to third countries was not discussed with the US, which is interesting information, because I guess not just me, but just about everybody was thinking that probably US will demand this enriched uranium to be removed from Iran. But according to this news, this topic was not even discussed. The issue of the exporting enriched uranium from Iran to third countries was not discussed during the talks with the United States to resolve the crisis around Tehran's nuclear program. TASS news agency reported, citing the source. So, okay, whatever topics are discussed during the Iran-US talks, meetings, I mean, as long as they will de-escalate between each other, it's all good. And if topic of enriched uranium may become a topic of discussion in the future, let's say, I guess Iran has good enough friends worldwide that can help with that. Russia can take Iran's enriched uranium and store somewhere. But for now, according to this reporter, this topic was not discussed. Also, by the way, information is reported in this particular case by RIA News Agency that Houthis, according to Houthi claims or claims of Ansar Allah movement from Yemen, during the latest US strikes on Ras Issa port in Yemen, 3 Russian sailors were injured, which is also unfortunate, of course. I wonder what US is doing, really. I mean, how long they're gonna continue this craziness? How long they're gonna bomb already a country that is already experiencing immense troubles, right, in terms of economical development or social security and so on. I mean, they have to stop. They have to stop, by the way. They are now attacking and injuring citizens of other countries. I mean, which is crazy. Vzгляд newspaper is also reporting that Trump demands free passage from US ships through Suez and Panama Channel. That's something new, isn't it? I mean, how he is coming up with these ideas, man? I don't know, but that's the report that we have. Donald Trump has called for a free passage for American ships through their Panama and Suez channels, emphasizing the role of the United States in their construction and the strategic importance of these routes. Bloomberg writes, and well, I don't know if Panama will agree on that, or Egypt, by the way. Why should they give a free pass to US vessels, military or civilian? I mean, why? And if US will get past, then why not Russia? Why not China? Why not any other country? Really? I mean, what the hell? But yet again, I mean, White House is trying to bully just about everybody in this world, and well, it's laughable. It's just laughable, by the way. No serious country should operate this way. But I mean, is US serious country even? I mean, I don't know, man. But government of US, decade after decade after decade, demonstrates that they really don't care about anything, right? Any agreements, they have no respect for anybody. They don't respect their own citizens, by the way, US elites. So why should anybody expect that US political class will respect citizens of other countries or the other countries? No one should expect that, really. I mean, we know US quite well for now, US political class. I mean, and we know what to expect from these elements. And I guess this is it, dear friends, for now. This is it for now. Let's go through chat, and if I see any questions, dear friends, if I see any comments that I can react and give you informative commentary, I will do my best. And dear friends, just in case, to make sure that I will see your question easily, or the commenter, please put capital Q before the sentence, or entire sentence in capital letters. So once again, thank you all for participating in this live stream, and let's go now through chat. It's a Sunday, isn't it? And you might be surprised, but it's snowing here in Moscow. Snowflakes are melting away, even before they will reach ground in many cases, at least here in this district where I live in Moscow. But just a couple of minutes ago, I see reports on Telegram that on outskirts of Moscow, it's actually snowing quite heavily. Not here though, but it is interesting to see the snowflakes towards the end of their April. Nothing extraordinary, of course. Sometimes snow may come even in May, so therefore nothing extraordinary, but interesting. Daniel Haurikis is commenting, has a half Portuguese I can tell you the Portuguese have a weird tradition of being in wars they have no business in being. I'm sure they are on the Russian side also. I mean, possibly they might be. I mean, there are many citizens from worldwide that are join Russian armed forces, signing a contract, and some are fighting because they want to fight for Russia because they believe Russia is on the right side of history, and some might want Russian citizenship, and this is not the easiest way, by the way, to get one, because you are risking your life, isn't it? But same time, you are proving how important for you it is to become a Russian citizen. I mean, you are on the front line. So there are many people that are fighting on Russian side. They are from dozens of countries, by the way, potentially from Portugal also. Let's see if there is any questions. Daniel Harikis is also commenting, yeah, we never got over the fact that we were the biggest European empire, and no one knows about it. I mean, if you mean Portugal, well, Portugal was very big. I mean, obviously, Portugal had occupied territories in Africa, in Latin America. Brazil speaks Portuguese, right? For example, and also in Global South. Also in Global South, Portugal was presented big time. And after all, Columbus was from Portugal, isn't it? He was serving, I mean, his ethnicity, I don't know. People are still arguing who he was ethnically, but he was serving Spain or Portugal, by the way. I've kind of forgot. He was from Portugal, but serving in for Spanish royal family, something like that. Although name America comes from Amerigo Vespucci, isn't it? And that's why we call Americas now, from name of that sailor, Amerigo. But Colombia has name of Columbus, and that country also sends plenty of mercenaries, by the way, in all directions whenever there is any conflict, which is also quite strange stuff. But dear friends, Nidish is commenting, David, I think China is pushing Pakistan to keep India engaged with Pakistan. Of course, there is a big issue, by the way, India and Pakistan. Did I miss the news on that? I definitely bookmarked news, but yes, unfortunately, situation is still tense between India and Pakistan, and their firefight, or at least shots are fired from both sides. There are many videos these days when Pakistan is deploying its troops towards border, heavy military equipment. I guess India doing the same, but I still think there will be no all-out war between two countries. But borderline skirmishes may intensify, and unfortunately people might die as a result of this. But let's hope New Delhi and Islamabad will somehow manage to de-escalate, if necessary, with mediation of some other countries. I know Iran's leadership stated that they are ready to mediate, for example, between the two. Nitish Kumar is commenting, Levan, as I said, the Hamas met Pakistan terrorist groups. The attack had a signature of Hamas all over it. Same kind. I mean, that might be the case. Obviously, I cannot know what kind of connections there is between Hamas and terrorist organizations in Pakistan, or that ones that are operating from Pakistani soil and attacking India, but there might be connections. I mean, that could be their case for sure, and And I guess these connections are not something new, and that's why India was mainly is in big support of Israel, right? As far as I understand, India supports Israel big time. And and Nitish Kumar is commenting, Iran must mind its own business. Yes, maybe New Delhi don't want no third party involvements, especially from Iran. Don't know, but guys, you are nuclear powers. I mean, India and Pakistan. First of all, you are one people. That's first, right? And the only reason why these Indian people are divided, it's not just in India and Pakistan, it's also Sri Lanka, right? Bangladesh and Sri Lanka too. There is a big population of Indians on Ceylon, right? On that island. And these are one people that are divided on religious lines, and they should always keep in mind that they are brothers. Even if they have different religions. And India and Pakistan are nuclear countries, so it's very dangerous. It's very dangerous. Some time ago, I read an article that if Iran and Pakistan will go all-out war and launch their nukes, even that might be enough to provoke a nuclear winter. Maybe New Delhi and Islamabad don't have thousands of nukes, but they have several hundred each, I guess, and that's according to some scientists that might be enough to trigger nuclear winter, and that will devastate the entire world, obviously, right? So let's hope sides will de-escalate. David King is commenting, how can China control Pakistan when USA pays its generals? Well, that's an interesting story, dear friend. China is actually, I was asking this a couple of days ago in update. China has big presence, very big presence in Pakistan. China investing heavily in Pakistan, and I think there are some connections between Pakistani army, Pakistani secret services, and China, their Chinese counterparts. Although US is still, at least currently, by the way, still has stronger grip, I will say, over Pakistan because of these connections that goes back in decades that US has with militaries and secret services of Pakistan. The situation was changing during the previous administration in Pakistan, and during this world famous cricket player Imran Khan became a prime minister of Pakistan. India at that period went in big time, very big time, right? And Imran Khan has a huge following, right? Huge following, and if you remember, just it was last year or year before, there was a huge unrest in Pakistan because of the actions that current regime is taking against Imran Khan. So it is kind of confusing how come that US and China both are heavily involved in the Pakistani affairs, but they are, I mean, both. Probably US has a stronger grip because of the decades longer connections with Pakistani militaries and intelligence services, but China is also big there. And due to cooperation of two military industrial complex, Chinese influence is also very serious. Nitish Kumar is commenting, we are not one people, the ethnic cleansing from Afghanistan, Pakistan, Bangladesh, Kashmir. No, we aren't brothers. They are invaders from desert cult. I don't know this, but I mean, there might be some ethnic minorities, obviously, but I think majority are Indians. I mean, I don't know. They have probably same roots. Although I'm not gonna you know better, obviously. You know better, Nidish. I'm not an expert, of course, in India or in Pakistan or in anything really. I'm just a journalist with some 30 years experience in this field, and that's all it is. Shumkovsky Goran is commenting the fight in Donbass and Ukraine is not only for freedom of Russians there, freedom of European nations is decided there too. That's why people join Russian forces, so to liberate their own nations. Maybe that is one of the reasons why people are joining, because they fed up with this fascistic regime in Brussels that dictates people all over Europe how to live and what is right and what is wrong. Unelected people, by the way, like Ursula Bursula and the rest of them. So yes, maybe some people are connecting their hopes to liberate their own countries from these globalists. Maybe their hope is connected with Russia also, Russia's success. Daniel Henriquez is commenting, Levan, what is so important with the Soviet nuclear power plants that the globalists want it? First they send Ukraine army, then put it in conditions for peace. Well, it's a big business, dear friends. It's not about some know-how technologies. This Zaporozhye nuclear power plant is quite an old one, really. So it's not because of some know-how or something like that, but because not for US anyways, but because because these plants are money makers, right? These plants are money makers. They're gonna be there for I mean, one may argue as long as humanity exists, right? And they're gonna generate and generate and generate billions and billions and billions of income. That's what it is. That's why US wants to have a piece of that plant. And the Zaporozhye nuclear power plant is biggest in Europe, by the way. Biggest nuclear power plant in Europe. So you can imagine how much money that power plant will generate, right? Different topic is that I don't think Russia will ever agree to give up on any territories that are acknowledged by Russian constitution as a Russian federation. And I don't think Russian side will ever agree to give up on Zaporozhye nuclear power plant. It's on Russian territory. It's a Russian nuclear power plant. End of story. That's my understanding of the situation. But who knows, dear friends? I mean, who knows what calculus Moscow has? I mean, Kremlin. They are not telling me, isn't it, their plans. Nidish Kumar is commenting, in 1971, both USA and China are on side of Pakistan. Yes, I know that. I mean, in 1971, entire collective West basically was against India, isn't it? And according to reports, according to even legends at this point, it was Soviet fleet that actually stopped West to get engaged directly against India. Soviet fleet stopped them. And I guess there was some threats also that Soviet Union will retaliate if they will attack Iran. And as a result of Soviet involvement, India defended itself, and also Bangladesh gained independence, isn't it, from Pakistan. Bangladesh was Eastern Pakistan, that was the name of that part, if I remember correctly. But yes, India helped Bangladeshi people to gain independence, and that's why it is so sad, by the way, that during the recent coup d'etat, basically, that happened in Bangladesh, these are sort of anti-Indian elements gain sort of power, which is, I mean, come on, man, you are existing thanks to India, and you are anti-Indian now? What the hell, man? This is wrong on so many levels. But Michael Kennedy is commenting, Soviet Navy stopped US getting involved in 1971 war on the Pakistan side. Yes, I mean, that's my knowledge too. And that's why, by the way, India remembers this, and I believe Jai Shankar, foreign minister of India, even acknowledged Moscow's role in India's history, relevantly recent history. By the way, India has thousands of years of history, so therefore we are talking about recent history, obviously. And Jai Shankar was saying it openly that India has a experience of working with Moscow and also working with Western capitals, and this experience is quite different, right? Moscow was there when India needed, and these other capitals, European or from North America, they were actually against India, and many of them still are, by the way. Many of them still are. I think, and that's why India probably will be extremely careful while dealing with the collective West countries, because history tells quite a lot. Nidish Kumar is commenting, I mean, they successfully killed all Hindus on our own soil. This is a tragedy, of course, but yet again, as far as I understand, Nidish, main reason why people are divided is religion, and I mean, it's just tragedy, by the way. It's a tragedy of the nation. But I see in Indians, majority of people in India, in Pakistan, in Bangladesh, as one people with their one historical roots that are divided by religion. India is majority Hindu. Bangladesh and Pakistan are majority Sunni Muslims. There's a question here, what is the real red line for Moscow? We keep hearing these red lines and that red line, but does Moscow have any serious red lines? Of course, Moscow does have red lines. Usually, by the way, whenever you hear red line, especially in the Western media, it's red lines that was created by Western media itself and Western propaganda, right? Western public figures. High-ranking officials here in Russia quite rarely talk in that terminology. This is red line or that kind of stuff. But Russian leadership says quite directly that any threat to Russian integrity, Russian sovereignty, and any threats to strategical objects here in Russia, any threats to public, is a red line. And so much so that if necessary, nuclear weapons can be deployed in that case. If threat is existential, we are not talking about some for example, there was an invasion in the Kursk region, right? And Russia didn't consider it as an existential threat, even though on initial stages, Kiev regime forces did manage to establish control over the dozens and dozens of settlements, but still, Russian side did not consider it as an existential threat for a country, and no extreme force was deployed. But if NATO, for example, send its troops to Kiev controlled territory, and these NATO troops then will get engaged with the Russian, well, in that case, Moscow may consider this as an existential threat, because capabilities of NATO is obviously very different, right? And Moscow might even take some preemptive actions if risk is real. I mean, if Russian intelligence will have 110% information, I mean, guaranteed information that London and Paris are planning to, let's say, conduct some rapid deployment of their troops and occupy Odessa, for example, or Kharkov or some other places. Probably they do have such plans. But if Russia will have 100% information that on this day, on this hour, French and British troops gonna enter Kiev-controlled territory from Romania and Poland and occupy historical Russian cities, then Moscow might take some preemptive action. And let's hope it will not come to it. But yes, I mean, there are some red lines, but all these red lines are in regards to existential threat to Russia and Russian people in general, right? And when it comes to, also, it is important to notice that when it comes to Russia's policies, I mean, foreign policy or some strategical decision-making process, Russia is a presidential country. Russian political system is built that way, and the Russian president makes main decisions, right? So therefore, if you hear from Russian president something, then that's it, right? But if some other high-ranking officials are saying some stuff, it's their private opinion. For example, Dmitry Medvedev quite often makes very strong statements, and we can argue that many people maybe in administration are on the same page with Medvedev, but it's still Medvedev's private take on different matters, right? It's not state policy. When it comes to state policy, we should take into account what Putin is saying, because he is a president, right? What foreign minister is saying, for example, because he is also represents official position of Moscow. But other high-ranking officials, they make quite strong statements time to time, but it does not mean that this is a state policy. It's just private opinion of officials. That's all it is. Natalie is asking, why, in your opinion, Russian government is talking to US, knowing full well that US promises are useless? I mean, what should they do? I mean, I was saying from the beginning, isn't it, that I personally don't really expect any breakthroughs during these talks between Russian and US delegations. So I was skeptical, and I'm still skeptical, by the way. Just take a look at this statement, for example, that Trump wrote on his not Twitter, but on his True Social network. Just take a look at this sentence, by the way. With all that said, I'm not going to go through all this post, but in the end, that's what he's saying. With all that being said, there was no reason for Putin to be shooting missiles into civilian areas, cities and towns over the last few days. It makes me think that maybe he does not want to stop the war. He is just tapping me along and has to be dealt with differently through banking or secondary sanctions. I mean, he is still threatening. He is still threatening, right? Am I understanding his statement here correctly? So obviously it is trust is an issue, and I'm 100% convinced that Kremlin is not trusting no one from Washington, literally no one, right? Nothing to be said about European regimes, but I mean, when, for example, Washington is initiating some talks, what should Moscow do? I mean, should they say, you know what, we are not interested, just go away? I don't think politics or diplomacy works that way. So US initiated talks. Okay, Moscow is responding in kind. Let's talk, let's exchange opinions. I mean, we talk, nothing is wrong, but would Russia trust anything that comes out of from Washington? I don't think so. And if sometime in the future any agreements will be reached, and dear friends, I think personally that unfortunately before this conflict will end in Ukraine, we will see significant escalation. I don't think ending of the conflict is in sights or on the horizon yet, because the Western ruling class is not yet ready to acknowledge that they lost this proxy war. So they will escalate. So therefore, I expect next phase of escalation to happen. And only after that, probably, West will come to their terms that they lost. And we will see through the escalation. But even if Washington is talking too much about the escalation right now, and if any agreements will be reached between Moscow and Washington, I think no one gonna trust American counterparts, and the Russian side will try to come up with some mechanisms that will increase chances that US will actually honor whatever agreement is reached. If it's even possible, by the way. I mean, yes, some mechanisms can be created, but if Washington wants, I mean, they can ignore anything really. So it is difficult to deal with a country that don't give a damn about anything. I mean, they just don't care. Take a look at the Trump, by the way. He's attacking just about everybody. He's trying to bully just about everybody, including allies, long-standing allies. At least that's how they've been presented to us, right? Look what Trump is doing to Denmark, for example. How he's treating strategic ally, NATO ally. You know, Trump is openly threatening to take land from Denmark, right? That US has nothing to do with. I mean, nothing, right? Look what Trump does, or US does with Canada. Also a strategical partner and ally of US, or it was at least, right? So it is going to be difficult. It is going to be difficult to deal with the US. Nothing to be said about Europe, but and as I said, I don't think anybody in Russian leadership trusts Washington. But what should they do? I mean, you tell me, dear friend, what should they do when Washington initiated these talks? You know, they could not say, you know what, we are not interested. Just go away. It's not the way to act. So therefore, you know, let them talk. Maybe something good will come out of it sometime in the future. At least their talk's not gonna harm. Talk's not gonna harm, isn't it? So therefore, let them talk. But trust is a whole different topic, and the results. I mean, will there be any good results? Not in immediate future, in my personal opinion, but sometime, you know, after some time, once this conflict will end, and it will end one day, isn't it? Then I guess US will try to build up relationships with Russia, because they need Russia. They need Russia. Russia don't really need US for anything, really. I mean, for anything. Russia is a part of emerging multipolar world. Russia is a member of BRICS or many other organizations that are created by this emerging multipolar world. And Russia has enough friends and partners in this world that with whom Russia can cooperate. So therefore, does Russia want for anything US? No. But US does needs Russia. For many reasons. For example, to deal with China. Or to deal with some certain issues that are emerging in the global south, in the Middle East, in some other areas, right? So Russia, US needs Russia for geopolitics, in terms of geopolitics, and the US also needs Russia because of the Russian riches, right? Russian natural resources. They need it. The US is also a very rich country, by the way, don't get me wrong, with natural resources also, of course, but not as rich as Russia is. And probably US would prefer to cooperate with Russia and have access, to be main partner when it comes to development of these all resources instead of China, right? Because of this competition between US and China, in which US don't really has much chances, but you know, separately at least, with their cooperation, with working level relationships, at least with Russia and India, with some other countries. Yes, US may maintain its relevance on geopolitical scale, but alone, I mean, not really. Hello from Wisconsin. A lion of Judea is commenting. Hello, dear friend. And hello, everybody, dear friends. Many thanks for participating in the streams and in the stream. And let me also notice, I forget about it, that from tomorrow, dear friends, I will have evening news updates during the live stream on my Rumble channel at 7 o'clock, most likely, either 6, either 7 o'clock. in the evening Moscow time, and I hope you will join those live streams, sir. It's gonna be latest news that Russian media will report during the day, and also if there will be some questions or comments in the super chat. My channel is monetized on Rumble, so you can use super chat, so you can support channel and same time highlights any topic really. So if there will be any questions or comments through super chat, I will react on that after news segment from Monday to Thursday. And on Friday's live stream gonna be community chat, traditional community chat, when I'm actively engaged with in a discussion in the chat itself. No matter question is from this what is the name, super chat or not. So Rudy Adrianson is commenting, they lost Russian money in Europe to support a loan for Ukraine. They use Russian money in Europe to support loan for Ukraine. If they lose this money, then we are in a bigger problems. If you are talking about frozen Russian assets, yes, it is factual that profits from these frozen assets already been stolen by European countries, and they are financing this proxy war against Russia with this. And I would not be surprised at all, dear friends, if they actually used up frozen assets too. And if this is true, then, well, when this information comes out, that's going to be massive hit, obviously massive hit on whatever is left from reputation of collective West and the reputation of Western financial and the banking system. And they will have to pay back anyways. You know, they will have to pay all this money to Russia anyways, because it's Russian, and Russia will, one way or another, Russia will take what is Russian, right? So it's better for European states not to spend that, not to steal these frozen assets. Otherwise, there will be some big consequences. But unfortunately, they already went as far as to steal profits from the frozen assets. It is true. Nidish Kumar is commenting, asking Luan, will USA deploy troops in DRC if they offer mineral resources? There were talks about it, isn't it? Congo's president, leadership of Congo already issued already asked US basically, and Europe also, to take a part in the development of the rare earth minerals in DRC. I don't know volume of these rare earth minerals there. Probably there is a vast resources of that, or otherwise this conflict that DRC is engaged, and also neighboring countries, this conflict would not last this long, right? So there are many interests in that region, and if Trump is so focused on this rare earth that he might actually go ahead and deploy troops and basically take over the Congo. It might happen for sure, but I don't know. I don't know why Trump is so focused on this rare earth. I mean, the US also has rare earth inside US. I mean, let them work on that first. But so yes, they might deploy. I mean, DRC's leadership already come up with such an idea to cooperate with US. Wow, seriously, Nidish Kumar is commenting that 90% of the world's cobalt supply is coming from DRC. That's big, man. That's really big. In that case, yes, US might get involved there, and Maria Palmar is commenting DRC will get ripped off, and yes, it is true. no matter who will take over their Congo, US or European countries, they will rip off locals for sure. They will give them a penny while making hundreds of billions. But 90% of cobalt, that's quite a number though. I'm surprised. So yes, if this is the case, then US may get involved. Just currently they are just too busy. They are just too busy in Washington to fight off all the constant attacks from the globalists and their assets inside US or outside of US. Also, Washington is waging trade wars and tries to bully just about everybody. So they're too busy. But once the situation will come down a little bit, they might actually take a look at the DRC once again and maybe even send troops there. So it might happen. Michael Kennedy is commenting, China is not giving US rare earth minerals. I know there was just like a week ago or something, China banned their export of some rare earth metals, I guess to US or the countries that are US allies. But I don't think China banned their exports of rare earth to Russia, for example. If we want to buy some, probably we will be able to do so. But China is a big monopoly, isn't it, on this market? They control some 90% or more of rare earth. So therefore, I can understand why current administration of US is that focused on this topic, because they are heavily dependent on China. And they want piece of it. And this is the future, obviously. I mean, this electrification of everything not gonna stop, isn't it? And if now we are talking about electric cars mainly, soon they're gonna be electric trucks and everything gonna go electric. And and that means there are more and more batteries. That means more and more rare earth materials to be needed. So they already got Argentina in their pockets. Yes, Argentina, yes, it is true. And I mean, I really wonder what is going to happen with Argentina, by the way. I mean, it's some groups are conducting some heavy experiments on Argentina. And I would like to see success for Argentina, for Argentinian people, by the way. But I don't know. This country should be one of the richest one in the world. And in reality, there are constant economical issues decade after decade after decade. In 50s and 60s, Argentina was a prosperous country and had a great future. But then, some experiments began there, and the country was ruined, basically. Danny Deval is commenting, China developed extracting lithium out of seawater. Looking promising, really. I mean, by the way, I remember an article that I read some time ago, and I reported in the news update about it, that now, when it comes to patents on some new discoveries and new projects, China is actually leading US. US was always leading country when it comes to all sorts of patents, right? And the US companies, US economical system was built in a way that they were trying to bring in as many brains as possible, leading brains from all over the world, right? And I don't know when US start losing this competition with China, when exactly, or what was the causes. But now China is the number one country when it comes to patents, by the way. So therefore, I mean, Chinese scientific field is huge, right? It's huge, and they are developing all sorts of new technologies. And I'm not going to be surprised at all if they are really extracting lithium out of seawater. I mean, wow. I did not know that lithium was in the seawater, by the way. I just hear about it from you. So, and dear friends, just like last week, I believe I was reading some article that in some of Chinese provinces, 10G internet is operating now. 10G internet with the speed of up to 1,000 gigabyte in a second, upload and download speed. Over 1,000. It was either 1,000 or 10,000. Something enormous, by the way. Something enormous. And now, world is don't even yet familiar with the 5G, and China is looking forward to build this monster 10G, and some pioneer projects already are running. So yes, China is leading in many areas now, leading the scientific fields. Maybe not in all spheres, but I mean, they made huge jump. Nitish Kumar is commenting, we developed 1400 horsepower hydrogen engine. Oh, that's a breakthrough also. There was a times when hydrogen was perceived as a future for future energy source for vehicles, for example. There was even hybrid cars built by Japanese companies, if I remember correctly, with their hydrogen engines. But this did not went. I mean, somehow this topic was shut down, and all companies went towards electric vehicles. But hydrogen, by the way, I mean, there is plenty of hydrogen. I mean, can be generated, isn't it? It's a bit dangerous to work with, but if safe ways are developed, then And when it comes to India, by the way, I mean, take a look at any big company in US, for example, and you will find out that in many ways, success of these companies were connected with their specialists from India or from Russia or former Soviet Union or from many other countries, isn't it? India has a great school of mathematics, and India has great engineers, by the way, and we all know this, right? And that's why I think give it another 20, 30 years and India gonna catch up with China, 100%. And I'm not exaggerating nothing. I mean, give it her 20, 30 years, and India with their such a great brains, I mean, they're gonna not just catch up with China, but maybe even overtook. So they are geniuses there, by the way. I mean, so, not just in India, obviously, everywhere, but India is a huge country. I mean, biggest country when it comes to population. So therefore, bright brains are there much more than in any other country. Nuclear thorium power plants are the way to go. I mean, there was an article, isn't it, that Bill Gates is planning to invest in these nuclear thorium power plants, and they want to build some experimental ones in UK or something like that. There was reports just a couple of days ago. I should pay more attention to that topic, but there was something like that. So yes, I guess some work is done in that direction also. Lion of Judea is asking, are Russian partisans in... oh, why you deleted the comment? Our Russian question was about Russian partisans in Kiev-controlled territory, and yes, they are, by the way. They are, and they called resistance, and quite often in my updates, I mention Sergei Lebedev, for example. He is a leader of the pro-Russian resistance in Nikolaev region, for example. So yes, there are pro-Russian partisans that are fighting regime, and quite actively. I mean, once this conflict will end, obviously we don't know names, just a few names, by the way, that are leading figures, but names of their fighters of this partisan resistant movement should be classified, obviously, for security reasons. But once this conflict will end, I'm quite sure we will learn about operations that these resistance groups were conducting on Q-controlled territory. David King is commenting, if India was more friendly with China, imagine Indian infrastructure like China's. I mean, yes, unfortunately, India and China are on not on the best terms when it comes to relationships, which is unfortunate, of course. There is some territorial issues between the sides. And also one should keep in mind that when China went into Tibet, many monks flee Tibet and find safe haven in India, and India continues to support them. And there are some historical and other reasons why two countries are not as friendly as we would like. But let's hope they will manage to find their common ground on many directions. They don't have to be like best friends, right? But as long as they are not extremely hostile towards each other, world is that will be good enough for the world, right? And now, by the way, I mean, I really hope that China will not start escalating with India due to these tariff wars that Trump is igniting, because obviously, if things continue as it is right now to develop this way, then many companies worldwide will obviously move their production lines from China to India, right? And this might provoke certain forces in China to go more hostile towards India. And let's hope this will not be the case. But it's a tactic of the Western ruling class. I mean, historical one. Divide and conquer, isn't it? They are creating issues between different groups and then manipulating them and controlling. So let's hope there are gonna be no massive tensions between China and India. By the way, it's not gonna be good for anybody. Maria Palmer is commenting, Levan, you mentioned Bill Gates. You just changed my mind. Why? I mean, technology itself maybe has a good future, but yes, we all are skeptical about that personality. When you hear Bill Gates, then you think something dodgy, right? That's a reputation that he has. And but technology itself might be the promising one. But I think future of energy is a fusion. So once humanity will reach that level of knowledge in physics, and once such materials will be created that will allow fusion reaction to last not just for like a couple of minutes or like it is now, but for a long time, then I guess that we will reach next level of development as a humanity. Fusion is the way to go, isn't it? Because it generates huge volume of energy, and it's clean energy. It's cleaner than our current nuclear reactors that are working on fission, right? In fusion, atoms are fused, during which this huge energy is released, and in fission reactors, atoms are split, and that's how energy is released. And then as this heat from this energy is heating up water, turning it into steam, and this steam then runs these huge turbines, isn't it? And that's electricity is generated now. Michael Kennedy is commenting, if Bill Gates is involved, it's usually about destroying humanity. I mean, I said, Michael, I just said reputation. He has a too bad reputation, Bill Gates. I mean, we all remember all these videos where he was talking about just too much. He had too much talk about some sort of viruses and epidemics and that kind of stuff. And I mean, when worldwide epidemic erupted recently, many people thought that it was some sort of conspiracy. Some people still believe, by the way, that all that story was a big conspiracy, and maybe it was. I mean, maybe it was. Rudy Adriansen is commenting, saw a video from BBC asking the people in Crimea if they don't want to go back to Ukraine. They did not find anyone that said yes. Was one TikTok. I mean, dear friends, there was elections there, and over 90% of people expressed their opinion that they want to join Russia. And one should keep in mind, dear friends, that people are living in Crimea that still remember when Crimea was a part of Russian Soviet Socialist Republic in USSR. It was Khrushchev, by the way, just a couple of decades ago that literally took this Russian peninsula and gifted to Ukraine. I mean, some people in the West might think that Crimea is a part of Ukraine since forever, which is not the case because Ukraine never existed until Bolsheviks created it, right? And Crimea was a part of Russia, by the way, and Khrushchev give it to Ukrainian Soviet Socialist Republic without even asking anybody on the island, or on the peninsula, sorry. Do they want to be part of Ukrainian Soviet Socialist Republic now? So people are still living nowadays. I mean, elderly people that remember these times, right? And they were dreaming about rejoining Russia because they are Russians, right? They were always part of Russian world. And in 2014, justice was served and the Crimea come back to Russia. And you know what is also interesting? There are investigations, by the way, that done in Crimea included, according to which when Khrushchev, during the Soviet era, was transferring Crimea from Russia to Ukraine, actually not all formalities was served. Not all formal steps was taken. And even though country was treating, after this decision, Crimea as a part of a Ukrainian Soviet Socialist Republic, according to some experts from Crimea, peninsula technically and by law was still part of Russia because not all formalities, not all formal steps or legal steps were taken by Khrushchev's regime to officially make it Ukrainian, right? Although de facto, yes, after Khrushchev's decision, de facto everybody was, had no option but to, treat it as a part of Ukraine. But in reality, it was always Russia, by the way, and people there always see themselves as Russians, right? Majority. We are talking about vast majority. I mean, some people might think they are aliens. I mean, who knows, man? But we are talking about vast majority. Nidish Kumar is commenting, no, even if India is close to China, infrastructure would be the same point. No one gives their ancestral lands to construct a bridge. It takes time, and India is not a communist country or one-party system. Yes, it will take longer for India for development. This is true, by the way. I mean, in China, even in China, not all decisions go smoothly, even though it's a one-party system. Right? And we all see situations when there is a highway, isn't it? Highway with, dozen of lanes, and there is a building in the middle that splits this highway. So even in China, where there is a one-party system and one may argue autocratic regime, even there, by the way, system can do nothing when someone says, no, I'm not giving up my land here. Right? And so if this is happening in China, I can imagine that in India, infrastructural development will be very, very difficult and time-consuming because, people will say no, in many cases, probably, to give up the land or their property, even if they are promised big money or new property or something. Some people may say no, but still, by the way, India is most populated country in this world. India has a great school of education, and therefore, I mean, it might take time, but I mean, there's too many clever people, right? And these too many well-educated people will do their thing, right? And India will develop anyways, a big time, and it will catch up with China. It's just unstoppable. I mean, you cannot stop it. It will happen, inevitable, absolutely inevitable. So I'm seems like I'm more optimistic than you are, Nidish, about India. I don't know. Maybe that's, maybe because from outside we see kind of bigger picture, and when you are inside, you may have some different perspective. But although of course India a million times better than I will ever know. Obviously, you are there. So, but I think give it to 30 years, by the way, and India will catch up with China with the GDP, and infrastructural development will also be on a good level, let's say. Levan, do you think Serbian conflict will kick off? Let's hope no. Nidish Kumar is asking, let's hope no, but we all see attempts of Brussels, attempts of globalists to generate confrontation inside Bosnia and Herzegovina with their recent attempt of Bosnia's police to harass basically Dodik, isn't it? Name of leader of local Serbs there, and he's, as far as I understand, he's one of the most popular public figures among Serbian people. And if Brussels continues its attempts to neutralize him and his inner circle, then it might actually provoke a conflict in Bosnia and Herzegovina, and this republic may actually, get split. Croats might say, we don't want to have anything to do with this artificial creation now. Serbs might say, we also are moving away, and Bosniaks will not really have much option but to looking for a creation of separate country under such name, Bosnia. So yes, the risk is there for sure. Risk is there that at least in Bosnia and Herzegovina some confrontation may start, and who knows then which way this conflict will go. It might engulf Croatia, Serbia also. Things might escalate between Serbia and Kosovo, Serbia and Albania. It's a very difficult region, isn't it? And there are too many conflicts. So therefore, unfortunately, risk is real that certain forces may actually provoke such negative developments. Nidish Kumar is also commenting, we have 38 major political parties, and the West calls us not a full democracy. Every party has their own agenda. I mean, just don't really care about, don't pay too much attention what Western so-called elites have to say. I mean, who are they to tell India what is their democracy and what is not? India, with their many thousands of years of civilization. I mean, who is anybody to tell India, for that matter, what is good and what is bad for India? Come on, man. They just are, I don't know why they don't like India, man. I just don't get it. I don't know. I don't get it, man. I don't know from where this hostility in the West towards India is coming from. I mean, why? And as you already mentioned, in 1971, practically entire collective West was against India, right? They almost attacked directly. And if not Soviet fleet, I mean, they would probably, Maybe this hostility comes from, from British colonial history, past. I don't know, but why they are hostile towards India, man? What India did, when India did anything bad to any Western country, man? Never. So I don't get it. That's it. And dear friends, it's almost 1.5 hour. It's almost 1.5 hour that we are online, and I guess it is time to end this live stream. Many thanks, dear friends, for participating for this great talk, for your opinions, comments, questions. Thank you all. And many thanks to all the members of our community who will watch this video in a recording later on. Let me, before I go, dear friends, let me remind you that from tomorrow, at least for the next 2 weeks, I will make this experiment that at evening times, I will have live streams on Rumble with the latest news update. And I hope you will manage to join these live streams. Let's see if this sort of experiment works. If it helps me to further develop Rumble, okay, I will continue this way. If results are not there after 2 weeks, then, well, let's see what will be after that. But I hope you will manage to join live streams on Rumble. So I will have a morning's update as I always do. It's no changes there. But I will just add this evening's, and I will have also second updates on Patreon and Boosty and many other programs, and these live streams on Rumble. Hopefully it will work. I don't know, but hopefully it will, because when I check Rumble, I mean, big names in this field of news and political commentary, like Glenn Greenwald, for example, like Teamcast, Tim Pool, he's big on Rumble too, and many others, by the way. They have hundreds of thousands of views. So clearly there is a public on Rumble that watches news and political commentary. So therefore, I think it is realistic to reach a point when view numbers on my videos, daily numbers, will be like 3,000 to 5,000. For small channel, that will be good result, and who knows, maybe one day we will become bigger on Rumble than on YouTube, while staying small channel compared to really big names. Anyways, dear friends, I have to end this update now. Many thanks to you all for your attention. Thank you very much. Have a wonderful day and take care. Bye for now.